This man was once a nameless soldier, dirt on his hands and steel in his eyes. But within decades, he would bring the mighty Roman Republic to its knees. He would turn friends into enemies and loyalty into fear. His name was Gaius Julius Caesar, a man whose rise would drown the Republic in its own blood. Once he fought for Rome, soon he would fight against it. His story is not just about power, but about how far a man will go when the world tells him he's not enough. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe for more dark truths from history's greatest empires, stories where ambition, betrayal, and destiny collide in the blood and dust of forgotten ages. If Caesar had never defied Rome's Senate, the Republic might have survived for centuries. But his hunger for power broke the balance that held Rome together. From the ruins of that old world, an empire was born, one that would rule the known world for nearly 500 years. Yet every empire has a price, and Rome paid with the one thing it once swore to protect: freedom. What began as one man's ambition soon became the turning point of history. The Republic fell, the empire rose, and all of it started with Caesar, the man who refused to bow. Caesar was born in 100 BC into a noble family that had lost its power, respected but poor. Rome was tearing itself apart in civil war, and Caesar chose the losing side. For that decision, he was hunted. He ran from city to city, hiding from those who wanted his head. During those dark years, he learned what survival truly meant, not in books, but in blood, fear, and silence. At 19, he joined the army. He didn't fight for glory or fame, but because he had no other choice. Yet on the battlefield, his courage stood out. He was brave, smart, and fast to act. But his greatest weapon wasn't his sword, it was his mind. Caesar knew how to lead, how to read people, and how to make men follow him even into death. Then came the pirates. They captured him at sea and demanded a ransom of gold. They laughed when he joked that he would come back and kill them all. To them, he was just a talkative young noble. But Caesar was dead serious. Weeks later, after his release, he returned with a fleet. He hunted down every pirate who had mocked him, crucified them one by one, and watched in silence as they died. That day, Rome should have realized something. Caesar was not like other men. He was calm in danger, cold in revenge, and patient enough to wait for his moment. A man like that could either save Rome or destroy it. By his 40s, Caesar was no longer just a soldier, he was a commander, a man with armies at his back and ambition in his heart. His battlefield was Gaul, the land we now call France and Belgium. For nearly 10 years, he fought endless wars across its forests, rivers, and frozen fields. One by one, he crushed the tribes that stood against Rome. His legions showed no mercy. Entire cities were wiped out, survivors were chained and sold as slaves, and the roads they built were lined with the dead. To Rome, he was a hero, the savior who brought glory, wealth, and new lands to the Republic. But to the people he conquered, he was a monster in red armor, a man whose name meant terror. Caesar didn't wait for others to tell his story. He wrote it himself, turning war and slaughter into art. His words painted him as brave, unstoppable, and destined for greatness. Rome read his reports and cheered. But with every victory, Caesar grew richer, stronger, and harder to control. His army obeyed only him. The Senate, far away in Rome, began to whisper his name in fear. Still, Caesar didn't stop. When he stood before his men and declared, "Veni, vidi, vici," I came, I saw, I conquered, the world believed him. But behind those simple words hid a warning, one that Rome ignored for too long. I will not be stopped. Back in Rome, Caesar's old ally Pompey had become his greatest rival. Once they had shared power as friends, but power always demands more. The Senate now stood with Pompey and ordered Caesar to give up his army and return home as a private citizen. But Caesar wasn't a fool. He knew the moment he entered Rome without his soldiers, he would be arrested, humiliated, or even killed. So he made a choice, one that would change history forever. In 49 BC, Caesar led his men to the edge of the Rubicon River, the border he was forbidden to cross with an army. He looked at the cold water and said, "The die is cast." Then he marched across. That single step was an act of treason, a declaration of war against the republic he had once sworn to serve. Rome froze in shock. The Senate fled. Pompey ran east to Greece, gathering every man and ship he could find. But Caesar did not hesitate. He chased Pompey across seas and mountains, his legions unstoppable. At Pharsalus their armies finally met. Pompey commanded more soldiers, but Caesar's men were veterans, hardened, loyal, and fearless. When the battle ended, Pompey's mighty forces were broken. Rome had chosen its master. Pompey fled again, this time to Egypt, hoping for safety. But when Caesar arrived, he was handed a small wooden box. Inside was the severed head of Pompey, offered as a gift by Egypt's young king. For a moment Caesar said nothing. Then he wept. Not for Pompey, not for mercy, but because he saw what power had made of him. A man whose victories now came with ghosts instead of glory. By 46 BC, Julius Caesar stood at the top of the world. He ruled Rome as its dictator, the most powerful man alive. He showed mercy to his enemies, forgiving those who had once tried to destroy him. But deep down, he never forgot their faces. He rebuilt the crumbling city, gave land to his loyal soldiers, and even changed the calendar to the one we still follow today. To the people, he was a savior. But to the Senate, he was a warning, a reminder that one man now held all the power Rome had once shared. The senators began to fear him. They gave him titles and honors meant for gods, hoping to satisfy his pride, but every gift made him stronger. Then came the title that changed everything, Dictator for life. The moment those words were spoken, even Caesar's closest friends began to whisper. In the Roman Republic, there was one sin greater than betrayal, the dream of being king. And Caesar, whether he admitted it or not, was now walking that dangerous line. The whispers turned to hatred, and hatred turned to a plan. On the morning of March 15th, 44 BC, the Ides of March, Caesar walked into the Senate chamber, surrounded by men he trusted. They smiled, greeted him, and then drew their daggers. The first strike came fast, then another and another. 23 times the blades sank into his body. As he fell to the marble floor, blood pooling beneath him, Rome itself seemed to fall with him. In that moment the Republic died, and from its ashes an empire began to rise. From soldier to dictator, Julius Caesar rose through sheer will and ambition. He conquered nations, defied laws, and changed the course of history in his own image. But power, no matter how glorious, always comes with a price. It's a poison that seeps slowly, turning heroes into tyrants, and in Rome, every poison finds its victim. Caesar believed he was building a new future, but in truth, he was ending an old one. Was Julius Caesar the savior of Rome, or was he its destroyer? Was he a hero who gave Rome an empire, or a man who killed the Republic for his own name? Tell us what you think in the comments below. Your voice decides how history remembers him, and if you want more stories of power, ambition, and downfall, make sure to subscribe. Because the empires of history were built on blood, and they never learned to stop spilling it. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more dark truths from history. Like the video, comment your thoughts, and share it with someone who loves stories of power. Blood and betrayal,